Welcome to the Wrestling Philosophy Show, where we discuss coaching perspectives, beliefs, and techniques. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. In part 2 with Mark Niemann, he talks about his favorite wrestling matches, his travels around the state and country, and then he closes it out with a guitar solo. Be sure to listen to part 1 for his stories and how Inside the Circle started. Favorite match? I know you covered, state duels this year was crazy. You covered that. You covered a lot of match. That's kind of how we crossed paths, right? But what 2010, 11 down that shot at the state tournament. What year was that? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think you were coaching. Well, maybe my memory is.
I was I still coach. I was coaching then. That's kind of you talk about what Sean does. The Inside Circle, what you do, and the early days, obviously the Zeb episode talk. Yeah, I just let it. I was like, Zeb, I want you to run, man. I want you to run. And he could. Did you know he was a really good runner? Do you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
He had the junior high SBC. He was.
Yes,
Okay.
I did know that.
All right, what's the biggest junior high freak wrestler you ever seen?
That was
Zeb. That was Zeb.
Yeah.
In junior high, track. Obviously, there's, in my eyes as a junior high, he was, had the records, and he was a gazelle, man. He was amazing. But I want Zeb to run, man. I want Zeb to run. I knew he had a gift, and
he does.
I want you to do it, and I want whatever I can do to help. And then he's like, well, you can. I'm like, no, you're pounding the pavement. You got the guy. Gift. Yeah, be the guy.
But if you're on the back end, see. And this goes to coaching philosophy, and I'll be shocked if anybody waited this long to find this information out. But if you fast forward to get to here, here's the deal. Every coaching staff needs what you're saying. Listen, Zed, you've got this X, Y, and Z. You're able to connect and interview people and ask questions that I'll say this. When I hear him ask certain questions, I'm thinking, that is a great question. I love the way he led into that and stuff like that. So,
and he gets them to open up.
Yeah, exactly. And
so that's where we cross paths, right? We cross paths.
Yeah, I think so. I'm 99%, but my point is every coaching staff needs a guy like Zeb, but we also need someone like you and who's, listen, I know how to put things on the computer. So if you give me the content, I'll put it on the computer, and Zeb might not be as savvy. So when you balance those things, you end up getting what you get, and it's a full package. And so when you think about I can videotape all day long, and somebody mentioned it. I don't know who it was in one of your podcasts, but writing that code name, dude, that stuff's for the birds.
Pain in the butt, right? Yeah.
Whatever that file name is, it's got to be a certain layout. It's like,
it depends what platform, but
that's.
I don't want to make this show about me, but that's I coach, like I said, at St. Mary's, but I'm blessed with Coach Bellamy up here in Sandusky. He does a lot of the stuff. I came in, he took over head coach when I came back to Sandusky. He was head coach. Then his son wrestled at Ohio Northern. So he's like, you want to take it over? So I have some flexibility.
Yeah.
Watch my son. I was like, yeah. And that's, and now he's right. We do, we're like two head coaches, I mean, it's not, it's, he does what I'm not the best at. And he, I do what, same thing. And he, now, I'm having kids, busy with their schedules. Hey, I got this covered. And he puts a lot of time for nothing, I mean,
don't all
right?
coaches.
Yeah. Right. So, but anyway, so that makes it work. I tell him, I was like, if you're done, I'm done. I can't do this without you, So, shout out to him because
definitely
he's been coaching for forever. So he knows a lot. Knows a lot.
And you'll have this happen, I'm sure of it. Eventually, one of your kids who you coach will become a coach, and I just had that happen to me.
Awesome.
One of the kids that I'm coaching, and it is awesome. It's great. And so I texted him. I said, "Hey, congratulations! I would love to get together with you sometime and talk what it means to be a coach." And so I told my brother that so-and-so got the coaching job at Groveport Madison. And he goes, "Whoa, man, he's in for a rude way." I said, "No, I'm going to talk to him." Right. And so the whole
you're going to mentor him in a way, right? I mean,
mentor him. But the idea is, listen, there's a wrestling side of it, but there's a paperwork side of it. I mean, and if you're not ready for that paperwork side, you're going to get so bogged down in that you'll never see the wrestling side.
And the communication side of it, talking to the parents.
What's that?
A communication, side of as whatever you want to label that.
Yeah,
that's cool though. Seeing your, that's pretty cool. It's I forget. I think the stat came out a year or two ago, but wrestling is the number one sport that coach athlete connection lasts beyond X amount of years or whatever. I forget what that is, but it was like I think double. I have to dig that up.
I would love to see that.
I'm gonna put that in the show notes so people can
please do that.
Athlete coach
relationship.
Yeah, it's something like the highest. I think it's men's wrestling and women's gymnastics, which, have a lot of correlation. So
yeah, that definitely makes it. I'll say this: when my high school coach passes away, I would want to know, and I would want to be there to pay my last respects. Right. I will say that man changed. I tell this story to my 7th and 8th grade. So I taught 7th and 8th grade, and now I'm just teaching 8th grade this year. But I tell all my middle school kids, my wrestling coach, this wouldn't fly today, and I get that. But in some ways was a second father to me. Mm-hmm. And in other ways, he did things that would be considered against the law today, but they were unconventional even then. He stuck his 2 fingers in my chest, double knuck deep, and told me, you need to straighten up. Yeah. I see what you're doing right now, and you're going down the wrong path. Right. And here I am today. I made it. Right. Part because that dude took the time to stick his fingers in my chest and tell me straight up, no, look me in the eye and listen to what I'm saying to you right now. Mm-hmm. You need to straighten up. And I'm just thinking to myself, in some ways, who is this guy to tell me? That was like the 0.01%. The other side of it was, if he tells my dad that he had to have a talk with me, I am dead. So, I mean, there was a lot there, but I heard what he was saying. And when he told me to look him in the eye, from that day on, a lot of things changed in my life. Like the ability to listen still wasn't all that strong, even through the military, but like to slow down and actually focus on what people are saying. But it has gotten better, and a lot of it is attributed to that time he took to say, right, hey, I want you to straighten up and actually matter in life and do things that don't just spin your wheels. Right. But, I mean, a lot of things that go unnoticed. When you talk about that, your coach who does a lot of works for pennies or nothing, right, it goes so unnoticed. And I wish there was a way that we could communicate. It doesn't go unnoticed. Mm-hmm. But the real truth of the matter is, it doesn't go unnoticed until about 10 or 20 years later. Right. When little Johnny, who you coached in youth and in junior high and went on to high school and maybe didn't have the greatest career, but he's serving in the military and he's attributing his time in the high school wrestling room to the fact
light bulb
that
goes off. Oh, man, they're saying the same thing,
Yes. Said. And not only do they hear it, not only can they mouth the words and parrot what you're saying, they're living it out. That's where the true grasp of it is. You talk about that guy in the military who's, fighting a mission over in Afghanistan at 5 a.m. He's like, guys, this is nothing. Listen, I used to wake up at 5 a.m. and run 3 miles. This is nothing. Look, we just got to pull together and make this happen. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Right. Oh, Johnny down at the shop working on your car. Like, look, I'm having a trouble. And he's going to look you in the eye and say, listen, I'm having a problem with your brakes. I'm going to finish it. You just got to give me another day. I will get this done because I told you I would. And no charge to you. Let me get this. And those are the kind of people I want to bring up. Right. Those are the kind of people I want serving me, or, not because it's about me, but I want those kind of people in the service industry. I want those kind of people in the business world, because those are the kind of people that are going to take care of you.
Right. Got it.
I know you're trying to wrap up, but I'm not going to let it happen.
No, I'm not. I got like 10 more questions.
Good. We can
chop this up and do
Good.
Episode 1, 2, and 3. All right. So you kind of talked earlier, said get back to Metcalf Schlater, and I don't want to paint that match in your head, but all-time favorite match, whether you've seen or covered.
Yeah, seen or covered. So I would say man, they've got some good ones. That Metcalf Schlater one is very high on the list. And here's what I'm going to say to that. I'm learning, I'm coaching. I was at the junior high level. My junior high kid had gone up. He was a sophomore that year. He's a great kid. He's just not figuring out in the classroom. He's ineligible the first part of the season. He was a sophomore that year. Mm-hmm. And so I say, listen, you're ineligible. We'll go up to Toledo St. John. We'll go to that tournament. I'll let you be a manager.
Was that the
Christmas tournament?
Yeah, we were in that. So it must have been right after you.
So there's 2 stories for this. And the first one is absolutely hilarious because I don't know who that coach was, but he was an awesome guy. Mm-hmm. They ran, in order to prep for the 28th and 29th 2-day Toledo St. John, they ran the 27th to work out all the kinks. They ran a JV tournament.
Right. No, yeah.
Yes.
Jake Jack usually runs the brackets. We don't go anymore, but then so our old principal, Mike Savona, helped run the tournament. He's works up there now, but the St. Mary's old principal, he's helped that for years. But go on. Yeah, they ran the JV the day before.
Well, here's the deal. The Thursday, Friday was supposed to be the tournament, the 2 days that we were in it. And it was supposed to be the 28th and 29th. The paperwork that we received said Thursday, Friday, which was correct, but it said 27th and 28th. So there was this 3 email chain that we were trying to nail down the date. And so it was kind of crazy.
Their hospitality room was
Oh
the
man,
best.
it was real nice. Oh yeah, we roll up there on the night. This way we can wake up early and go to the weigh-ins. This way we can be there. This way we didn't travel in the morning to get to the weigh-ins. So we show up at night, and I drove separately. And there's a reason for that. I'll get to it. So I drive separately. My brother's on the bus, and he passes the school. Well, I'm just following the bus, so I'm not looking at anything. My brother looks inside the school, and he sees wrestling going on. All of a sudden, and this was before cell phones. I'm 99% sure. It's before cell phones. And we roll into the hotel, and like Mark's like, and it's right across the street.
Right.
He's like,
yep.
Mark, there's wrestling going on. Instantly, our minds are going back to the email chain where we missed an entire day of varsity wrestling. I sprint. There's probably a foot of snow on the ground. I sprint. I'm falling over myself. I go across the street. I'm banging on the door. They open because the people had left that collect tickets. Some guy walks over, opens the door. I run in out of breath, and I go, hey, I thought you said that the tournament was the 28th and 29th. He goes, you guys missed it, man. And I'm like, no. And I'm like, in my brain, I envision like this movie in which I'm cursing the sky and I'm going, no. And this video is spiraling up. And he goes, I'm just kidding. This is the JV tournament we run to work out the kinks for the varsity tournament. I'm like,
I bet that was Jake.
Gosh.
I bet that was Jake Jackson.
Dude, it was great. Dude,
it
was the timing was impeccable. I saw Trevor Stewart there from Detroit Catholic Central.
Yeah.
He had a broken hand, not a broken hand. He did something to it. So he wrestled the whole tournament with one arm.
Wow.
He destroyed kids with one arm. He pinned a kid in 10 seconds, pinned a kid in 27 seconds. He pinned our kid in about 13 seconds. I'm like, holy smokes. So he gets to the finals, and I'm thinking to myself, this is it. This kid's he's going to put up a fight. He grabs onto Trevor Stewart's hand, which was not the right thing to do. And rather than pin him, he held him up. He held him till his back wasn't flat, kicked him out, bam, heavy hand, just took him down, like crushed him. And I'm just thinking to myself, dude, you shouldn't have grabbed the hand. He's getting the back points. He goes up 15, 16, 17 points, pins him. I'm like, dude, I'm never standing in front of Trevor Stewart ever in my life. That dude is a machine. So he goes on to Central Michigan and wrestles. I follow his career there. The number one high school match I watched was Dustin Slater. I think it was Slater Metcalf, and here's why. I take that kid up. We're talking about eligibility the whole way. We get up there. I freaking flip. I lose my mind. I go in, and I tell that guy this, that, or the other. No, that's not even the case. My wires are crossed. Toledo St. John the next year is what it was. So we roll up there at Toledo St. John the next year. I tell my brother, hey, we're leaving. And I don't know if you know how far Toledo St. John is from Medina, but it's about 2.5 hours. So we drive 2.5 hours up to Toledo St. John. I tell my brother, Chris and I, or this young man and I are leaving. We go over. We show up. And they've switched the order. And we didn't know that.
So you thought you missed it, right?
So we walk in at 189, and I'm thinking, what the heck? And the guy goes, dude, you missed it.
You thought you misread the email or the paperwork again, right?
I think they changed it like that day. Yeah. So anyway, I'm up there. And so I just watched Slater Metcalf. I watched Metcalf. And I would be underneath the clock that was up there on that top
platform. Yeah.
And I had a camera at the time. And I'm standing with my, what do you call it, a tripod. I've got the tripod extended all the way up because there's people I'm up against the wall,
right.
And there's people all in front of me. I'm watching the tiny little viewfinder. I'm watching the match, and I'm keeping it still, doing like this, trying to keep it still, watch the match. It is absolutely insane. I get that on footage. Once the match is over.
And you sacrifice your viewing pleasure
to
record it for everybody else, right?
I get that on tape. Yeah. I get it on tape, and the wrestler and I get back to the hotel, and the two coaches that were there with us were watching on this little tiny viewfinder because we didn't have the cables to plug into the TV. I show up the next morning, and I tell people what I did, and they're like, where is it? Where is it? We want to see it. All the coaches are sitting around watching this tiny little viewfinder like, oh, it was fantastic. All that to say, there are three things that the public loves. They love brackets. They love results.
Right.
And now during this day and age, they love live streaming.
Right.
That's what they want. And if you can provide 3 of those things, you're a winner. If you can only provide 2, make it bracket and results because they love it. That's what the public loves.
Fact. That's a fact. Number one site clicks on our OEC site.
Hey, you got brackets printed yet?
By a mile. By no results. Well, it's always, you look at the bracket, then you look at the results because you want to see.
That's right.
Right. That's the order of operation.
Right? And listen, if you've stuck around this long, if you're a tournament director, Put that stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
We ran the Cruiser Invitational, and this is a crazy story. We were going to go to a tournament in early January. It got snowed out. Well, we're not going to sit on those 2 points. No, you'd be a fool to do that.
Right.
So we get involved in a tournament that would be 2 weeks later at another local high school. That gets snowed out. Well, thankfully, Martin Luther King Jr. Day is that Monday.
Mm-hmm.
No school. So this school says, hey, we're going to run it back on Monday. So we look at the weather. Hey, don't answer that. We look at the weather, and it's good. So we're like, we're going. We show up on Monday morning. It's phenomenal. This is great. We're going to wrestle. Man, we're fired up. It's delayed. The weigh-ins are delayed. Okay, we can get by with that. No problem. We'll make it right. We'll just cut the break between weigh-ins and wrestling, and we'll make it happen. Brackets, slow to get released. I'm like, oh, my gosh.
Sorry.
Well, during weigh-ins, we're trying to console ourselves. It's me when Sean helped, and my brother, he's the head coach of Groveport Madison. We're just sitting there, and we're talking about, listen, we can get through this. It's okay. As we're saying that, weigh-ins are still going on. Maybe it's the upper weights, 171, 189. This little 135 pounder walks by us. In both hands, he's got hot dogs at 8:14 in the morning, covered with mustard, relish, and ketchup, and double-fisted. And we're thinking to ourselves, where are we right now? Yeah. This is the craziest thing ever. So then brackets are slow to get released. Then the tournament starts late on time. During the breaks, which there were a few of them, my brother and I and Sean, we're talking and we're reliving the glory days. When you won a tournament, you would get your name and your bracket engraved on this little plaque. Right. They would sit mat side and do that. It's like, whoa!
Tournament.
And we're all telling the story about how we all had these brackets. These things are sweet. They got the names on them. Man, this is amazing. I still got those. They're hanging on. They're not hanging on our wall. They're in some basement drawer somewhere. But we are talking about that and how cool those things were. So my brother looks at us and goes, hey, you want to run a tournament? I said, let's do it. So the next year we run a tournament, but we don't go all in. We go, hey, let's run a varsity tournament. a JV tournament. We'll start small, we'll work big, and we'll get there. So eventually we ran 4 tournaments in 4 years. It was a JV to start, a freshman over Christmas break. Then we came back with another JV tournament, and then we ran our varsity tournament. That varsity tournament was so legit. It was a 12-man bracket, and the winner got a foam board, 24 by 36 inch foam board piece. But then we took wood and cut down the middle, a little recess for a plexiglass front and that bracket to fit inside. You could take off the top because we drilled in the sides. We drilled little connectors. You could undo the top one, take it off.
Slide the
plex in. Well, we took the bracket out and we let the winner sign his name on the champion line. Put it back in, drilled it in, awarded it to him.
That's sweet.
It was awesome. It's got a watermark on it of the mascot.
Nice.
Dude, it was so legit. It was so legit. I could not believe how awesome it was. And then it's like, I just had to leave, this, that, or the other. I had to leave Groveport Madison. It's just like, man, I got to get out of here. This is out of control. The amount of work we do and the amount of love that we receive is not equating. It's just a situation. So, and I'm sure every program can say that. But at some point, after 10 years of Sean Penn telling us, look, I've been on the outside. I know what's out there. You got to leave. You have to leave. The amount of energy and time that you can do. I never really got full bore into coaching except for the job I took at Westland. But when I got out of there, I was like, man, I got to get out of coaching for a little bit, man.
Well, you're serving your purpose, in other ways, right? Kind of like Zeb,
no.
Inside Zeb coached, and you're serving it. No.
Inside the so gosh, you asked about the best match I've seen. I think later.
So I got some Medina stories. I remember rolling up there, head coach, same thing. Going back, you had a coach that was kind of, the fingers thing. I had one that's similar. I still talk to him all the time. Very close friends. So, but he took us up to watch. It was Keaton Anderson, Ty Morgan, and if I were driving up, that's why we were going to watch it, right?
Yes,
that was a good one up there. And then my brother senior year, he was in and wrestling Wooten from St. Paris Graham. I think he wrestled Northern Illinois. And my brother won it, real close with Wooten. But in that bracket, he had, this is when Medina, obviously Brex was tough. Medina's still tough. But
I think it cycles.
Right. So my brother had the D1, D2, and D3 champ all in that bracket. I think I had the finalists. Like that top 6 were your 3, your finalists. My brother won it. My brother Drew, he was tough. So talk about a bracket, right?
Yes.
So, but anyway, yeah, Metcalf Schlater, man, that was,
that was a good. Hey, real quick, you mentioned Keaton Anderson. When I was in high school, Keaton Anderson versus JP Felty, man, that was a rocking good. So JP grew up in Taze Valley. He used to come to Groveport's Little Cruiser program. Brad Harris was there, who was a state champ. I don't know what he did in senior nationals, but he went on to Clarion. He was a national qualifier for them, a couple matches away from All-American status. He's just a hammer. Those two, Jimmy LeBeau, who's from Washington Courthouse, which is about 40 minutes away, would drive up every day. I mean, we had some absolute hammers. That was like my group. And I'm just thinking, this is not a good situation for me. These guys are good, and I'm not. This is bad. So when I look back to the Little Cruiser program, it was just like the names. There weren't very many clubs that were attracting like the kind of traction that I felt we had. So there was a lot of energy there. So it was easy to just be a part of, like, wear the shirt, oh, you're in a Little Cruiser program. Like some 35-year-old just talked to me. That's cool. It's because I'm wearing the shirt. But I mean, a lot of that stuff. But Keaton Anderson versus JP Felty was a heck of a match. I think in my brain, somebody got an escape. Keaton Anderson got an escape at the very end, and it was legit, man. The whole crowd was on top of it, so it was kind of cool. That was good. What's another question? Let's go. Fire them away.
So who do I need to have on? You kind of got the feel.
Oh, that's a great one.
You gotta know the feel of what I'm going for, right? Actually, wait till you hear Nicola. Wait till you hear Nicola if you haven't heard that one.
I can't wait to hear. I'm going to listen to it. Hey, I'm sure he mentioned Vanessa Oswalt.
She's coming in October. She's on the. We're already connected.
You asked the question earlier, or through an email or something. Who do you follow on Twitter? And we might even get to this.
I was going to get to that, but
no problem.
Go that way. Go that way. Go ahead. Who's a follower that you can't go without seeing?
Yeah, my Twitter followers, if I follow them, I like them. I love their content, so I'm fine with saying any of them.
But there have to be Twitter. It could be anybody. It could be YouTube or whatever.
As long as I've sought them out or they've posted something that I like, and I'll go through and I'll do a little do detective work to find out where they, what feel them out a little bit, what kind of tweets they put out, and I'm like, dude, I like this guy. I like this guy a lot. There's a guy named Daniel Elliott. He's down at Gardner-Webb University, man. Okay. This guy is salt of the earth, just a fantastic individual. I cannot express enough how awesome this guy is. And he is the kind of, and we talked about this earlier, just when you think people can't go above and beyond enough, they do another thing. And it's like, you do not have to do X, Y, or Z.
Quit showing off, right?
He's just an amazing guy. I'm a huge, and I make no apologies for it. I have like two heroes, maybe three.
Man, you're stealing my questions. That was a different.
Okay. Right.
Man, you're killing me.
We'll talk.
No, keep going. Keep going. No, this is conversation. Okay. Keep going.
I have two or three people that are in my pantheon, that people I've met, that I've talked to, that I think to myself, I cannot believe I shook hands with that individual. I cannot believe that individual has ever called me or spends time with me. So the first one is, I don't know, maybe it's a Central District love in me, but Tommy Rollins, there's something about him. Every time he talks, I've got to get my hands on that footage. So he had a podcast with Ben, and man, it was just a great T-Ron Funky show.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and so every time that they put something out, and you know what I think is just remarkable is that he is a two-time national champ, the first four-time All-American in Ohio State's history, but he is so quick to say, yeah, I don't know the answer to that. There's a humility there. Maybe that's what is attractive to me. So, or that what attracts to me. So Tommy Rollins, I follow him. I got him on all platforms, Instagram. And
my favorite Tommy quote, he came in, we had him come in years ago. Young man, like I said, we had a guy that ended up going down to Ohio Northern Wrestle, and he was a bigger guy, so brought him in. His quote was, when he was showing stuff, he's like, you think if you sit on the couch for 50 straight days, what are you gonna do on day 51? He's like, you go out there and, work out real hard for 50 straight days. What are you going to do at day 51? It's about the discipline, the whole discipline aspect. But go on. So Tommy Rollins.
Tommy Rollins is huge. And, you mentioned a quote from him. And the one quote that he said one time, he was talking about when he returned in 2012. I actually went out to see him wrestle in the Olympic trials. He got second in 2012. And one of the things he said in either an interview or something, he mentioned how, there's no guaranteed success. I could put in 100 hours of the 100 hours I had available, but there's no guarantee of success. But the work I did is not going to not pay off in other areas of my life. You just can't be you've got to be willing to do all that work and not be afraid to look down. You just can't be afraid to look down or look back. So
you can't withdraw what you never deposited, right?
Doggone right. So there's so many great quotes that he says. So Tommy Rollins, one of them. I've got another one named Kerry Collette.
Oh yeah.
You may have heard of him. I don't know.
You like to sing happy birthday to him, right? Right. What'd he say? Did he thank you for it?
He said you sang it better than my family did.
Oh, so, did he? That's
yeah.
Good.
So I mean, this is no lie, man. I showed up. I found out that he was going to be coaching at Campbell. And I was like, this guy's getting back into coaching, man. This is phenomenal. He's got great website, the YouTube channel or whatever. He's got great knowledge. Anytime I hear him talk, he's got such a great perspective. I think Flo did an interview with him one time where he called like 2 years, 3 years, 5 years in advance. Logan Stever needed to stick around for 2 cycles, and we would see everybody else sort of join in. That's exactly what happened. And I'm not saying he's right every time he says something, but I am saying that he's got great insight.
Right.
So if you're asking who the next person is, you should do is Kerry Collette. But no, so I found out he went to Campbell. The only thing I knew about Campbell was a guy from Ohio used to coach there. Joe Boardwine. Yes. So it was like, hey, he's taking over a college that an Ohio guy was a part of. So therefore, I am now obligated to know what's going on at this place because I need to see what happens since an Ohio guy left there. I need to know what happens after that. So I don't know. It's a weird thing I do in my brain in Ohio. So I start following Kerry Collette. I start seeing what's happening at Campbell. And the first year was a bit of a, just crazy. He could only field 5 guys in the weight class, but you just listened to him talk and you knew something was going to be special. And then when the administration got on board, it was kind of like, hey, something's going on down there. So I started paying attention to SoCon. Now that I'm paying attention to SoCon, I realized that Tennessee Chattanooga, I realized they had a kid from Watkins Memorial, which is my school district. And so I'm learning all this stuff. I'm like, wow, this is great. He actually pinned Lance Palmer. The kid did. But anywho, UTC, Campbell, you also have Appalachian State, which has always been a traditional powerhouse kind of place. You've got obviously you have other Presbyterians now in there, but there's this team called Gardner-Webb. And so through a crazy life circumstance, my brother goes to Westland to wrestle. He runs into a guy named Scott Shipman. Scott Shipman I find online for no reason whatsoever. He just popped up in my feed one time. I was like, my brother knows him. So I started following him. He started tweeting back and forth with Daniel Elliott from Gardner-Webb. I was like, hey, Gardner-Webb, they're in the SoCon. So I start following these guys. Daniel Elliott is a freaking rock star. Somehow, and I don't know how this happened, and honestly, I can say this about just about every single person that I've mentioned so far. I end up with their phone number. Whatever that means. I don't know how it happens. So we start exchanging DMs. The next thing you know, we send just text messages back and forth. We exchange numbers. One day I'm sitting out here and I get a FaceTime call and it's Daniel Elliott. And I'm just thinking to myself, dude, you are the freaking man. He's like, hey, yeah, this COVID stuff's kind of crazy, this, that, and the other. Want to talk about movies. We're watching movies now. And I'm like, you want to talk movies with me? Dude, no. But I guess all of this to say they watch Inside the Circle. They don't watch every episode. But they're watching. Because we're promoting kids in our district. So they know who to look for, right? Doggone right. And there's a kid, I don't think I'm allowed to, I think I can talk about it now. There was a kid who was highly sought after, who ended up picking Virginia, an ACC school, but he was on their radar. Okay. And so it was the idea that, hey, we've been promoting this guy. This is kind of cool. You find out that, and I'm not saying that his wrestling speaks for itself. And I don't, who the heck? What the heck? I don't know if that was me. That was me. All right. All the intertwining, all that, and again, that young man's wrestling stands on its own. But I can't say for certain that those college coaches would have known about him had we not put something out there. Right. This is my way of saying, my hope is that ITC makes it an easy way for college coaches to look at talent. So maybe is that if you had unlimited time and unlimited budget or brought a third guy in, is that something you could do? Is it'd be a focus on those athletes so they kind of make their own. Oh yeah, definitely. And you know what I would be able to do if I had unlimited time and unlimited assets and like a third or fourth person, I would be able to know exactly what I would be able to ask the coaches. You sell me with what your program, I shouldn't say program, your school has. What programs does your school have? Because if you're really big into research, there's no reason you shouldn't be going to Stanford. Like if you have the ability to wrestle,
right,
and research is your thing, Stanford research, Harvard research, these are places that are all about research. Like I'm not going to make you go to Arizona State, which they might have a great research program too. But my point is, I know that Stanford research. Right. Yeah. So with unlimited time and unlimited resources, you're looking at, listen, you're a really good wrestler. But in 10 to 20 years,
don't spin the wheels at the wrong place, right?
Yeah, right. And you don't want to do that. You do not want to do that. You want to find a place that, number one, is going to suit you academically and set you up for life outside of wrestling. Right. And number two, the coach and you speak the same language. This way, when he comes down on you or he's lifting you up, that coming down doesn't seem like he's picking on you, and that lifting up isn't just blowing smoke. It's true. When you can find that, it's a recipe for success. And a lot of kids might say that this is the greatest choice for me, and I take that with a grain of salt when they're first going in. Let me see you in 4 and 5 years, because then the true test will be, because right now you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Right. You'll say just about anything because you're so excited. But when 3, you're 4, and you haven't got a takedown in the room, is it still the best place for you?
Right.
Like that's when, and if the answer is yes, then man, freaking stay. But if the answer is no, enter the portal and find that spot.
Right. There's a lot more factors than just wrestling. And, like you said, they're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and they don't know what they're looking for. Get out there and find what you don't like. So you figure, narrow that down.
100%.
Right?
Next question.
So no, it's, you kind of, through people.
I answered.
So you answered yourself, the hero thing, social follow. Any suggestions for the show? Obviously, you've seen, like you said, you've been any suggestions?
You know what you did? I'll say this. You know what you did that I liked? I liked that you sort of did an intro and you talk over what's going to happen that episode.
Okay.
That's really cool.
I need to do that. I think I missed that on Nicola's, but I need to start doing that. And I got some. I'm working on a different intro, custom intro song with a buddy of mine. So a buddy of mine, Rack One. He's a family friend that so we'll see that we're working on that, but
Good.
Yeah, I need to do the intro, the whole describe what's going on, because I think I didn't do that for Nicola. But no, that it's going back to what you said. I talked to Nate Shear, at Washington Lee.
Yes, I listened.
And that's one thing I asked. I was like, what if a kid's come there? What should he be looking? What's the school known for? And I've been interviewing the smaller colleges, so maybe that's a question I need to start asking. So little Johnny has an interest in this, maybe talk to this school, but I don't know, man. It's you answered all my questions. Social.
No. Real quick, I'll go back to social media and I'll give you a solidified answer. Yeah. I mean, if it's wrestling related, I probably follow it. I'm not as big. Well, if it's inside the circle, so how crazy is this? Inside the circle and my own personal Twitter, I try not to mix them too much. Right. There are only probably 3 to 5 overlaps from Central District. Marysville is one of them. I think Mount Vernon, Bishop Hartley is another one. But after that, it's really few and far between. But the ones I try to follow on inside the circle, any college wrestling, if they follow us, I follow them immediately. And I say, thanks for the follow. Right. We want to put our best kids in front of you and make it easy, a one-stop shop for you to find a kid that you can recruit. Nice. That is what we want.
I like that.
But for my own personal follows, there's something about me that likes the off the beaten path, like guys. They're, for whatever reason, I've never been to North or South Dakota. Follow both of them. Those wrestling programs I follow. I mean, I probably know some kids on their team because I just read their who their roster is. Same thing with all those SoCon teams. I actually left our district tournament early to get down to the SoCon championships this past year.
Did you go?
Man, it was awesome. It was fantastic. Oh my gosh, it was phenomenal. It was like, it was a small field, and they only had 2 matches because it's only an 8-man bracket, and every match mattered. It was they say like when you ride a roller coaster, you have to look for the next big roller coaster.
Yeah.
Every match was the exact same intensity level. And when one kid from like App State lost, the entire Campbell and Davidson place went.
It was like kind of NCAA, like a mini NCAA, right?
Yeah. So we know that App State just lost in the first round. They're not going to get as many points. So Davidson was going crazy. Gardner-Webb and Campbell was going crazy. It's like, what is this? What did I get myself into? These people are just going.
And those are cool little. We when I wrestled at Kent, we did a little road trip. Went down, wrestled at Citadel. I think Gardner-Webb was there. We went to UTC, Tennessee Chattanooga, wrestled there, did a little thing and wrestled all those schools. Campbell, speaking of Campbell, we wrestled there, and you walk in the wrestling room and it's at that time was smaller than my high school wrestling room.
Yeah.
So I'm sure now.
Well, I tell you what, they got a nice one
now. Yeah, completely different.
3 mats. Yeah. I did a sauna session with Colat, and we had
great.
Oh, it was legit, dude. It was 20 to 30 minutes, and it was just phenomenal.
He hasn't pulled the restraining order yet on you?
No. No restraining order yet. So that's good. I was glad too, because my son was at the camp and man, he learned a lot, man, of just Mike Evans. Oh, one quick story. Mike Evans is on staff down at Campbell last year, and 2 years ago. And my son and I went to the camp and we stayed down there, and Mike, they're doing live wrestling. One guy's on top, one guy's on bottom. And then they switch. Everybody does that, right? Mm-hmm. So my son's on bottom, and he's almost out, and the guy grabs a hold of him, brings him down, and my son fires right back up, and he's almost out, and so they stop, they switch, and Mike Evans, like, something switched in his brain. He's like, hey, come here. Listen, when you're down on bottom, and I mean, he starts laying into just getting serious with him, not laying into him, but getting serious with him. Mm-hmm. And so my son heard, Mike Evans didn't hear. All right, other man down, next guy on top. My son starts walking away to go get on top, and he goes, hey, get over here when I'm talking to you. Don't walk away from me. Listen. And I'm like, dude, I'm loving it. I am absolutely loving it. And I'm freaking loving it. My son, though, is like really conflicted. What should I do? So he listens to him, and he ends, and he gets on top of the guy, and he's like, where were you? He's like, Coach was talking to me, man. So now he's getting it from the other end. Well, they end the go, and Mike goes, hey, come here. Hey, man, if I'm ever talking to you and you're supposed to be wrestling, go wrestle. And I'm like, you just told the exact opposite. Oh,
can't win.
You can't rein Mike Evans in, dude. He is so intense. He is so so when I was coaching at Westland, after my private sector job, I went to Westland High School and I began coaching there. I said, hey, Kerry Colat's going to be 5 hours away in Dillsburg, PA, home of Mike Evans. We're going. So we go there. And Mike Evans is the clinician. Kerry Colat's there, and I think they're recruiting a kid that's there. He's a freaking hammer, and I think he actually signed to Campbell.
Nice.
He's just a little hammer, dude. So we're there, and Mike Evans, my personality was out there already, and Mike Evans was feeling it out. Mm-hmm. Mike Evans and Mark Niemann are totally opposite. So Mike Evans was quick to let me know that he knew that I had pressure points that maybe I didn't even know about, and he could also hurt me with just this little guy
right?
He rubbed it on I'm still sore. That was 4 years ago. I'm still sore on my ribs.
Eating the ribs, right? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, did he ever? And I'm just thinking to myself, Mike, bro, you cannot hurt me. I'm like an old man. Please leave me alone. Like, dude. But anywho, he's a fantastic individual, just a great guy. All that to say, Gardner-Webb is a phenomenal follow.
Cool. Daniel Elliott. I'm sorry, Daniel Elliott.
Yeah. He's a great guy. That's where it all started. My wife and I, family vacation. We were down in Asheville, which is about 45 minutes. Oh,
I've heard my brother just there like 2 weeks ago. My brother.
You got to go to Asheville.
Yeah, my parents have been there. They've been there. Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
So I'm training for the Murph 2021 and
nice.
The exercise. So I go down there and I say, hey, listen, I'm going to hike some trails. It's beautiful down there. So I let Coach Elliott know. I was like, hey, I'm going down to Asheville. I want to hike some trails. What do you got for me? He sends back me a list of like three or four trails. Mm-hmm. So I look it up. I find it. It was like six miles uphill both way. This thing was out of control. But while I'm on the thing, you start. It's like treadmill time. You start dreaming of these dreams, and this is how my mind works. So this is how Inside the Circle got started. This is how this stuff works. I envisioned in my brain me grabbing like 3 or 4 of my son, and like 3 or 4 of his high school buddies that are really trying to make a commitment this year. College coaches grabbing like 2 or 3 kids. They want to make the commitment this year, a little team building. And we would go on this hike And my original plan was to
so
back out.
you'd go down to Asheville, right?
Yeah, we would go down.
Okay.
Well, we wouldn't go down to Asheville. My original plan was to go along the coast, and you can rent a house for a week. Okay. So if you go into that house on Sunday and live for the week, great. Well, that would be the last day of our trip. And I would back it up 11 to 14 days. And wherever we landed, that's where we would start. And we would everybody would show up, all these coaches and wrestlers. We would walk for 2 days straight and maybe 3 days straight, and then take the fourth day and just rest. Walk 3 days straight, take the fourth day and rest. And then when we walked 3 days straight, we would finally get to the house, and we would all live in that house. It's one of those houses that take you can have up to 50 people in it.
Right.
So we would all live in that house for the week. And we would all, reflect back on the trip and take your time, go out with your family, and then come back that night and talk about wrestling, watch something on TV, watch a movie together. But that's just how my mind works.
Get it planned, man. Inside the circle. You have it limited, right? Start at 20 people. Here's the 20 who wants to be inside the circle, 20 people for summer 2021, right?
Yes.
Do it, man. Do it.
So I'm telling you. Well, here's the deal. Daniel Elliott is reining me in a little bit. He goes, hey, man, listen. And he's giving me great advice. He's telling me, listen, your East Coast North Carolina trip is going to be very flat and very boring. What you want to do is take a trip, maybe cut it down to 9 days, walk 2, off 1, walk 2, off 1, walk 2, 8 days. And then you end up at this lake. And I looked up the lake house. Oh my, they have lake houses that are gorgeous, but the entire walk is very scenic, which is a whole lot better than flat land because you're getting towards the coast. And I'm just like, man, I would love to do that. And think about this. Let's say Daniel Elliott, and I don't know if he gets along with the Davidson coach or coach.
Right, how that works, right.
What's the Appalachian State coach? John Mark Bentley?
Yep, John Mark Bentley.
I don't know if he gets along with those guys, but if he grabbed 1 or 2 other coaches, they don't have to be from the SoCon. They can be from wherever, and they all grab 3 or 4 wrestlers. You would have a heck of a caravan walking up, camping, walking up, camping, walking up, camping, and then taking a day of rest, just relaxing with each other, find out stories. But through it all, you could be mentoring kids. And
would you bring your guitar for the campfire?
I could. Yeah, but you'd have to carry that. And the more I find out about backpacking, I mean, they get down to ounces.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. Right.
All right, next question. Come on.
No.
Oh my gosh, it's 11:30.
You have any questions for me? You got anything for me?
That's a great question. Yeah, actually, you know what I'd like to know? How did you branch your state tournament process? Like, obviously OAC had been going after the junior. I mean, the junior high, to me, the junior high state tournament is very big. But then at one point you said, let's do a dual championship. Let's do a youth championship. Let's do a youth dual championship. Like, what spurs? Does the market spur that, or do your dreams spur the market?
So let's go back, right? I was in high school, or actually I was wrestling all the, what we said, tournament champions and whatever, national tournaments and all that stuff. And you talked earlier how, Groveport was running all these tournaments. Well, the group at St. Mary's, my dad, there's more than just him, but they run, I think, 9 tournaments in a year. And they're like, man, this is a lot of work,
Yes.
And they're doing it right. Right.
Yes.
And I was like, man, if they're doing the tournament, we're coming. They had one of the first bitty tournaments back in the day, just like you said, crazy, way over at, max, So they got to thinking, there's literally I've told this already, I think, on one of the shows, but there's nothing between your conference match and, national event. So like, well, let's do a junior high state tournament. So, 97, 98, they kind of planned for it. And, they seen some of these tournaments out there that weren't very well organized or whatever it was.
Amen.
So like, we can do this, right? And they had the coaches buy in because they, were in that, network. And so they launched in 99 with, my senior year of high school. They launched with 4 qualifiers at the junior high level. And then from there, 5 years later, people like, let's start a youth. And, so they started the youth. It was only, 8U, 10U, 12U. And they're like, we're not going younger than 8. It's just too young. And, whether that's your style or not. But then, a couple years later, they did a 6U and then added a few weight classes, depending on the size of the kids. So, and then about 10 years in, people, you got to do this for football, and there was nothing 6th grade football, whether you want kids to tackle football or not, it's your options. It's, nowhere near the wrestling, but got into cheerleading, the duels part of it, people like, you need to have, and the duels this year was, the last few years, but it's been, All your top teams are there. Yeah, right.
Dang.
Right. Crazy, right?
Those kids are good and they're excited.
Right. And I think people don't realize how good that those duels are, right? Because it's it's just parents usually there, but you covering it, and when you cover it, it's awesome, but it's not the same thing as being there, right?
Right.
Your high school state duels, you've covered that. Anyways, fast forward, so that's kind of I guess how that works. And then this last year we added the grade school, actually, so the junior high districts, I think that's your question, how you pick those, but a lot of them were with the OAC since the inception. They're making 80-90% of the money coming in. People think, oh, it's all going to the OAC. No, it's going back to those clubs. I know Tangi hosts the junior high district. They're the gate, the coach bands, all that, concessions, all that's going to them. And that's kind of, and those schools don't want to give that up. So since the beginning, I think Golden Tangi was one of the originals, but whatever schools, so a lot of those schools that host the districts, that's their baby, that's their thing. So they don't give that up. So it's, just like anything, that was the relationship since the beginning. And, sometimes when a school, hands it off, they're like, this school would be a good fit. And, we gotta make sure they have the right, it's a lot. They got to have the right facilities, right? They got to have the right people, just because they have the best team in Central Ohio doesn't mean they have the right people to run a tournament or the right venue to run the tournament. Right? So that's, when we added the sections this past year, like, why are you giving it to them? It's like, well, they, the date availability. Sometimes, all right, this weekend we have basketball, so we can't have it, at this school, whatever it is. So it's all right, we got to go to another. So it's, just like anything, you just build those relationships, and that's, like I said,
it goes from there.
Thomas Worthington, they've been there since day one. You know what I mean? And Rusty
my first junior high state championships, like the district tournament at Thomas Worthington, that was my first memory. And I had a couple kids actually qualify for the state tournament. Is it Youngstown?
Cavalli. Yep. Cavalli, just like, yep.
That's it. Real quick, you said that started in 99.
Yeah.
I'd just like to point out that is why I wasn't a junior high state champ. I was in junior high in 88, 89, 91. So that's why I wasn't.
Right.
Yep.
It's funny looking back at the, how it's evolved, but that in a nutshell, that's how it, it's, I don't know. Did I answer your question? Sorry.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Cause I mean, you just see these tournaments pop up and it's like, well, how did that happen? Like what drives the market? And I knew you guys were in football too. But it's just one of those deals where it's kind of like, what is like, I wonder if the chicken is coming before the egg or the egg is like, I'm not sure.
It's a little bit of both. But people, hey, what have you, we're
there it is.
Changes every year. We're receptive to feedback. Like, like you said, when you're doing inside the circle and people are like, why are you doing, they're complaining, but you find a lot of people, if you ask and you truly listen, people, hey, what have you thought about this? What about this? And that the whole, a lot of the things we've implemented that might not have been the original idea, but we kind of take it back, let it, marinate, let it sit on it.
Yes.
This might be a better product if we go this angle. And, this last year we did, obviously a lot of people aren't familiar with the youth scene, but we added sectionals, and it just, we didn't want it to, there was a lot of different reasons. I don't want to get into that, but it definitely worked for this past year. It definitely had that mediocre kid. Now there's something for them, just like high school, right? District qualifier, right?
That's all right, man.
Or before it was like, you're either a state qualifier or, a district participant. Now, so it's a, we want to keep, and that's one thing I tell these, dads that are, well, my kid's this and this, like, well, someday he's going to need a partner, make sure he's helping Johnny. I was talking to Will Knight, and he was saying he used to take Najee Lockett up to Burnett's, and Spencer Lee was beating up on him, and Spencer's 12, Najee was 8. Spencer pulled him aside, said, hey, keep your head, pulled him under his wing and pretty much said, stick with it. If Spencer went over there and said something, who knows if Najee would have wanted to come back and wrestle, right? So he kind of helped them along the way, and eventually, it clicks for Najee, and he's not that it wasn't clicking at 8, he just happened to be. Spencer Lee was 4 years older, but the wrestling world needs those kids to stick it out. Right?
I love that story because Spencer Lee is. I mean, he already knows he's good. Even at 12, he's recognizing, hey, I'm pretty good at this. But the mantle of responsibility is not just to see how good you can be while pushing others down.
Right.
That's not it at all. It's how good can you be while bringing others up.
Right.
And because when you bring others up, that's what elevates you even more. It's like, man,
right.
I'll never understand the idea of putting other people down. It just it doesn't fit with my mindset.
Right.
It doesn't. Even if I beat someone, it's like, hey, man, you did great there. Maybe I don't say anything at all, but I certainly don't stand over top of them. And, how about that?
You're right. Right. No reason for it. Right.
I don't like it. I like stand up, shake hands, get your hand raised, walk across, shake coach's hand, let's get out. When we get in that back hallway, we're going to freaking go nuts.
Yeah.
But right now, in front of everybody, relax. Let's run back there and let's go crazy.
Unwritten rule. That's what I usually ask people. You have any?
I did hear that. And my answer is the coach. If you're a coach, you have to say something twice. If you don't say something twice, the kids don't hear it. I don't know what it is, and I'm telling you, if you sit around and listen to coaches, hey, stand up right now.
Right.
He said stand up twice. Had he not said it twice, but no, I would go with you I would go with you as far as the respect aspect is concerned, because the merits of the sport warrant that. If you pull a big sale and you're in sales job, what does it benefit the whole sales team or even your boss or even the company if you look over to the other guy and say, that's how you sell right there? Like, that's not good. Hey guys, let's learn from this. Let's learn what worked in this case. And let's make the next sale the big one.
Right.
Even though I'm the one who just made the big sale and everybody is, coming in, we're celebrating this big sale. Hey, I appreciate the acknowledgement. A lot of hard work went into this, and I know everybody else is working hard. So let's look at the success story that it is, and let's see what pieces made it successful. And I want you guys to try to implement some of those. Wouldn't that be what makes a better team? Right. Yes, it does. So putting other people down does not benefit anybody. So I'm with you on that unwritten rule. Don't stand over people. And, Jeff Jordan, whatever that Nate Carr story was, or it's just good. But I don't understand. And honestly, I know Brutus does a great job as far as talking about Dave Schultz and the kind of person he was, and they let others tell the story, because obviously Dave's in here, but they're letting other people tell his story.
Right.
But when Jeff Jordan tells those stories, you find out just how genuine and authentic he was.
Right.
Because he really wanted to know, hey, look, I heard you got a good half Nelson. What is it about the half Nelson that you do? When he's asking a 15-year-old kid that, it wasn't to make that 15-year-old kid better. That's really not the whole point of it. It happened, but his point was, how come I know a half Nelson, but everybody's telling me you run a great half Nelson? I want to know.
Consistently learn. Yeah.
Yes.
If something goes wrong, right, it's my fault. If something goes right, it's the team's fault, right?
Yeah. And you know who said that? It was somebody.
Who's I know who's.
Well,
the quote
in that quote, somebody lived that out in girls basketball, NCAA girls basketball. It was a phenomenal. I mean, I watched it and I thought to myself, that was amazing. I think a coach was sitting, and I forget who the coach was. It wasn't Tennessee and it wasn't UConn. Okay. That's what I know. But there was a situation in which a team had, won a lot of games and they were doing really well, and somebody missed a pass or gave up a turnover or missed a shot, and the coach was sitting there, the press conference at the end, asked her, what do you tell the young lady who, caused the turnover or missed the shot or missed the answer to that? If we'd have won, would we only have given her the credit? Right. No, we would have given the whole team. And since we lost, we do not blame one person for the loss. Right. We go after everybody and we say, hey, we all carry this. Everybody spotlights that, but that's not right.
Right.
That's not. And so when I heard that, I was like, man, that is phenomenal. Man, that's great. And this is wrestling philosophy. This is the podcast for wrestling philosophy. I have learned over the last 10 to 15 years that, granted, matches are great. Don't hear me to say that. There's a lot of entertainment in the matches. But the press conferences, that is where I spend my time. When I hear Cale, Tom Ryan, I hear Tom Brands talk, I want that information. What was your mindset going into that match? Say, listen, this is my mindset. And I've always loved the in-the-room footage. You see John Smith breaking down the technique, right? So when you get in the room and you hear this talk, that it is technique, and no one denies that it is technique. But with those who have ears to hear something so much more than just technique, because they're talking about the discipline that it takes to do it, the sacrifice, the commitment that it takes to make it happen. And guess what? The uncertainty that it might not happen. You're going to put in hours and hours and hours of work, and guess what? It might fall flat. but you gotta roll with it. You gotta roll with it.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of stuff that I love.
Awesome. I don't have anything
question.
else, man. I think you answered them all, man. You have anything else for us?
Yeah, I got 2 things.
Okay.
Number 1,
yeah,
gardening. I love it.
It's on here because I used to garden. Actually, I was going to ask that, but
yes.
I used to have a garden. So what's how's this year's haul? How was it?
Oh my gosh! So first time I've ever used those cages, tomato cages. It's a big ring at the top, and then a smaller ring, but then they've got 4 posts that go. It's the first time I've ever used those. Put those in the ground.
Got to get the good ones. You have to get the good ones, though.
There you go, brother. You know how I know that?
Yeah. On the ground, right? One bad storm. Yeah. Worth the investment. Got to get the good ones.
I cannot believe how weak those things were underneath the weight of the tomato. And I got some good. I don't even like tomatoes. I tolerate
you got
to
spread out the tomatoes, right? People think, oh, this little tiny plant, and the next thing you know, it's like a forest. You can't get through them, right?
Yes. And I hate the smell of tomatoes. Like when I go out there and check, I'm like, oh gosh.
They smell like it.
I only did 2 tomato plants.
Okay, good.
And it was too many.
Roma.
Oh, no. Just Dustin Myers put on Facebook that a local in his neighborhood, this lady was selling them.
Okay.
So I went over to her place in her driveway, and she had out just an honesty box that said, if you take a plant for basically $1 a piece, please give the $1 in the box. And so I said, no problem. I'll go out there, and I bought 9 pepper plants and 2 tomato plants.
What kind of
but the tomato plants were already starting to grow, and I didn't feel right paying $1, so I just put 20 in now as I've done. That's easy. No. Just put 20 in and walk out. So my tomato plants are out of control. They are out of control. My pepper plants have produced exactly what I wanted them to. I just planted way too many. 9
what kind of pepper? Just green pepper?
Just straight jalapeno. Jalapeno.
My brother does the habanero, and he does the ghost pepper, all that stuff. My brother, oh man,
hey,
that's too hot. But I like the hot sauce. Don't get me wrong. I actually with the chili and stuff like that.
Yeah. Ghost pepper is too hot for me. I cut one in half, put my tongue on it. My entire mouth started tingling, and my saliva, my saliva glands just took over. I was like, whoa. But I do like habaneros, and you can get the flavor and some of the heat without like going crazy.
Right.
All you got to do is just cut it in half and stir your eggs with it, and you can just throw the pepper away. You've got that habanero flavor, which is delicious. I actually like habanero flavor than I do jalapeno.
The jalapeno, correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Me too.
The spice is, whoa, that's a lot.
So you do the peppers, you do the tomatoes, anything else?
Next year, I told my daughter we're going to do Roma, and we're going to plant onions. Okay. And that is because we want to make our own sauce, and we'll have jalapenos. There you go. Yeah. Another thing I do is garlic. Okay. Garlic is phenomenal. And so there's 2 types of garlic, a soft neck and a hard neck. I do a hard neck garlic because it has a little spice to it. And so when you plant 1 clove of garlic, you get 4 back. You get probably 5 on that fist. Well, you take those 5 off and you plant those 5, you're going to get another total of 25. Yeah. So it multiplies exponentially. And so I love garlic. My wife doesn't. It's a natural birth control. My wife doesn't get within 10 feet. So if you need help on that aspect, I'm telling you, garlic is the way to go. And it's good, and it's good for the body. It's
right. It's very yeah.
So that is good. 1 jalapeno pepper has more vitamin C. Some cite double the vitamin C of an orange.
And oranges have more than banana. People think. No, vitamin C. I'm thinking potassium. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So oranges have more potassium than bananas.
Right,
That's right.
Right.
I think the potassium in a banana, for some reason, can get to the body faster than orange, but there is more in an orange. Okay. So there's something to that.
All right, but so jalapeno has more vitamin C.
Than an orange, yes. Huh. And nobody knows this stuff. It's like, dude. So the quote is, "Let thy food be thy medicine, and thy medicine be thy food." And if we could live by that, if we could just live by that, we would be, gosh. Not to get all crazy tinfoil hat on you.
I got you. We lived out in the country and did it was like 20 by 20 garden. And my wife's family, they're all, they had a big one. They have a family farm, a big old. So it's but now we moved, and it's so kind of not the same, but we're slowly getting back into it. We had the tomatoes, cucumbers this year.
That's a great one. My wife, she'll go to the store and buy during the summer because like summer, no school. We'll put strawberries, apples. We'll cut the slicer.
Yeah.
Strawberries, apple slices, and cucumbers out on the island, and man, that stuff's gone. And
Right,
I would much
right.
rather my kids
The
snack
kids
on
eat
that than
that,
potato
right.
chips.
Right, for sure,
Man.
for sure.
So the one thing gardening, I'm also doing grapes. So you said you got anything else for us? I got 2 things for you. Gardening, I've got grapes coming. I've got 11 grapevines that are going to go in, and I've got the trellis already made. It's ready to go. All I need are my grapes, and it takes 3 years for them to actually start maturing. Yeah. And you can select. Do you want grapes to make raisins? Do you want grapes for wine? Do you want to make grapes for jam, jelly? I just wanted basic table grapes. Now, there is some overlap. If you can make a wine grape.
So this region's pretty good, I would assume, right?
Oh, yeah. Ohio, man. Man, the Northeast is Minerva.
We were at Geneva and Lake this summer with the family for camping. There's a lot of wineries up there. So
yep.
No, it's funny. I did used to homebrew, did a lot of hops, probably similar because it took 3 years to develop. And do you want the more citrusy hop? Do you want the more earthy? Probably some of the grape, right?
I would say yes. And my buddy does brew his own, and he wants me to grow hops on my plot of land. I got 2 acres.
It takes time.
Deal.
You got 2 acres? Nice.
Yep. So real quick, it takes 3 years for hops to come through.
They'll come through, but that third year that kind of gets into it, gets a rhizome. So it takes time to kind of take foot. And, first year grows a couple feet, second year a little bigger. And then
that third
year. And then it's from there. And eventually same thing. You split it off,
Did you have an A-frame?
So we lived out there, and I had 2, 6x6.
I meant for your hops.
Yeah. So I lived out in 2 acres, and we had the 2 6x6s, and kind of went up. I actually ran a cable across.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
So it's an A-frame, but a wider version. And I brought a couple to town here, but I just had to rip them out. They're just getting using more. And they're putting out some good cones too, man. That's some people don't.
Man, that's the kind of. I'm not a huge beer guy, so but my buddy brews his own. So every 6 or 8 months, he'll bring me over and we'll drink one. But it's the idea of he created this,
right? So
that is the joy of that. So
right, exactly. It's from here it is. This is stuff you grew on your own. It's crazy.
And blackberries too. I'm also going to be doing some blackberries.
Ooh, nice.
That's gardening. And then the last one is, here's what my thought process was. You can fade out at any time you like, but do you have a particular style of music that you like?
Oh, dude, you're killing me. That was on there too. But I was like, I didn't want to.
Go ahead.
So I listen to everything. I listen to every. I can't. I'm a country guy, R&B. I've been to rap, hip hop concerts, everything. I listen. I asked my brothers, like, man, so. They're country guys. I listen to everything. I can't pick one genre. I don't know. I really like R&B. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. Well, I don't have any R&B in my repertoire. But...
Okay. What do you got? What's?
No. So here's my thought process. If we've been down so long, so you can just like fade out, like whenever you decide, like, hey, we're done with this interview.
So most people have entrance songs. This is your exit song.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what would be a good song just, for wrestling philosophy, but nothing really jumps out at me. So I that's why I really needed a genre that you could. I got it. Okay, so this goes
country too. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a big country guy.
Okay, so this goes old school
Chris
country.
Stapleton. Yeah.
In this case, it's old school country. So when we grew up, it's Garth Brooks. Okay. And I call this the story of my life because the chorus. So whenever I'm done here, we can just end the interview. So.
Okay.
And I'll try to get right to it. We'll see if you recognize it. If I can remember the words. Here we go. This old highway's getting longer. Seems there ain't no end in sight. Sleep would be best, but I just can't afford the rest. Got to ride in Denver tomorrow night. Call my house and no one answers. For the last 3 weeks, no one's been home. I guess she's through with me. To tell the truth, I just can't see what's kept the woman holding on this long. Everybody now. And the white line's getting longer and the saddle's getting cold. Hey, I'm much too young to feel this damn old. All my cards are on the table with no ace left in the hole. Hey, I'm much too young to feel this damn old.